Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And it is absolutely beautiful in Indianapolis today. It is like 78 degrees outside. All my neighbors are walking. All my neighbors are working in the yard. It is just such a fun day, and I've been out here talking to my neighbors, and I've been trying to film all my videos outside today because it's just so nice. It's supposed to go back tomorrow to like the upper 50s and then be cold, not cold, but 50s for like the next 2 weeks and then be warm again. So hopefully, hoping and praying for a very warm April and May this year. I'm very excited about spring and summer to be back out here on my front porch and be able to talk to my neighbors and watch my shows and read out here and go to the pool when the pool opens and stuff like that. I can't believe it. I've almost made it. It's just like, it seems bizarre to me that I've made it through the winter of our discontent, and like spring is coming and it's beautiful outside. I'm so excited. Just like it totally lifts my mood. So, all right, I wanted to read some meditations today. I've been going through all the books in our house. I went through the bookshelf and cleaned out all those books and boxed up the ones I don't to donate and give away. And every book that is in the bookshelf are going to be the books that I've either read and are my favorites or books that I still want to read. Every book in the house is going to either be in the kitchen, in my place where I keep my books that I'm currently reading, or in the bookshelf. And so I'm currently going through my meditation books to see which ones I want to keep in the bookshelf and which ones I want to read on a daily basis. And of course, the Melody Beatty ones, they made it. I have doubles of a lot of my meditation books because my mom and I both had some of the same meditation books. And so I think what I'm going to do, because I've never like underlined or highlighted any of mine, I think I'm going to keep the ones that were my mom's, and I'm going to give my copies away to some of my friends in recovery. So that they can have some meditation books for those that don't have them out there, because the meditation books just mean so much to me, and I love them so much. You know, I've read them over here and referenced them for, you know, a very, very long time. And some of them, you know, have meant more to me at different points in my life. And the thing is, I try to, like, when I go to the store, I try to, like, find new meditation books, or I'll go on, like, the Hazelden website, because they have a bookstore, and I have most of the ones that Hazelden has put out, and I have, you know, all the Melody Beatty ones, and the Sark ones, and those are my favorites, you know, and the Book of Positive Quotations by Linda Picone, I love that one, and the Amy Dean, the Nightlights one, I love to go to bed at night. But every once in a while, you know, like, I'll find a really good one, but it seems like every time I go to the store to find new meditation books or new affirmation books, I can't find good ones. So if anybody out there has a recommendation for an affirmation book that you love, let me know. Okay, let's get into this. Today is the 13th. I'm going to look into the language of letting go first, because lately the meditations over here have been really, really good in this. I mean, they're always good, but they've been really good lately. I keep on going to May. Like, I must be really ready for May. Good things must be coming in May. Okay, March 13th. See what it's talking about. Clarity and direction. What was the one yesterday? Did I do it yesterday? Timing. Clarity and direction. In spite of our best efforts to work our programs and lean on God's guidance, we sometimes don't understand what's going on in our life. We trust, wait, pray, listen to people, listen to ourselves, and the answer still does not come. During those times, we need to understand that we are right where we need to be, even though that place may feel awkward and uncomfortable. Our life does have purpose and direction. We are being changed, healed, and transformed at levels deeper than we can imagine. Good things beyond our capacity to imagine are being prepared and brought to us. We are being led and guided. We can become peaceful. We do not have to act in haste or urgency just to relieve our discomfort, just to get an answer. We can wait until our mind is peaceful. We can wait for clear direction. Clarity will come. The answer will come, and it will be good for us and those around us. Today, God, help me know I am being guided into what's good about life, especially when I feel confused and without direction. Help me trust enough to wait until my mind and vision are clear and consistent. Help me know that clarity will come. I really, really like this meditation. I think it's something that I have really, really struggled with in my life. Not necessarily clarity and direction, but I think timing, which was yesterday's meditation. And what I mean by timing is wanting to force the timing of things, you know, and that like, one of the things that my current sponsor says to me, and that my sponsors have always said to me, you know, is that life happens on God's time, not on my time, right? And I've really, really struggled with that in life. Like, I've always, like, wanted things to happen at a certain time or a certain pace, or I don't understand why I'm not getting answers quick enough, or I'm unclear about things, or, you know, it's this, I think this need that goes back to me being an addict and an alcoholic, this sense of me needing to constantly control everything around me. And then when I have those moments of clarity where I realize that I don't have any control over anything, right? The only control I have is my response to things, or my reaction to things. But in the last few years, I've tried to be less reactionary and more responsive, and that kind of brings me into this meditation a little bit. You know, when it talks in here about, it says something about during those times we need to understand that we are right where we need to be, even though that place may feel awkward and uncomfortable. Our life does have purpose. And then it says in here, we wait, we trust, wait, pray, listen to people, listen to ourselves, and the answer still does not come. You know, I can remember moments in my life, pivotal moments in my life, where I, like, you know, like my sponsor, all of my sponsors have always said to me, like, pray on it. Where you pray on something and then you put it aside and you go to sleep. Well, you don't have to be a religious or a spiritual person to do this, to do that similar thing, right? It doesn't have to be a spiritual prayer. You can think about something deeply. Like when we talk about meditation, often, you know, meditation is defined as deep thought. So when you meditate on something, you sit and think about it. Often for me, like, sitting out here during the day listening to the birds, or my neighbors walk by, or at night, like listening to the silence of the night, or, you know, I can hear like the geese fly over and whatever, like that's very peaceful to me. It brings me serenity and solace. And in those moments, I can find clarity, you know? And so I'll think about something deeply. I don't know that necessarily I'm even praying in those moments or speaking to God. You know, those are things that I do as a spiritual person. But in those moments, I think I'm just kind of sitting here, just like, in all honesty, just thinking about what's going on, and not even really thinking like, well, should I do this or should I do that? Because I'm somebody that scripts conversations in my head, or scripts outcomes in my head, and that's dangerous for me, right? Because it never turns out the way that I think it's going to, good or bad. And so what I try to do is just like think deeply about whatever's going on in my life. And like I said, you don't have to be a religious or a spiritual person to do that, or you can, and you can use prayer as one of those tools. But just to think deeply about something, right? Or to pray on it. Like for me, really, like, take it to a spiritual place for a second. The reason why I try to, like, people get confused about that. The reason why I try to offer both options is for people that are not religious or spiritual, that they can still get something out of these meditations, because these meditations are not just for people that are, or my conversations over here are not just for people that are religious or spiritual. I respect people with any kind of belief system, right? You know, and I think that my husband, who is an atheist, like, that has really, and like, having conversations with him through the years and trying to explain things that I do, but translate them in a way that he can understand them or benefit from them, or things that he's done, translate them in a way that I can benefit them or translate them to prayer or meditation, has been really, really helpful to me and to him through the years, right? And so for me, it's about like sitting here and just thinking on it. Like when I pray, you know, I've talked about the wheelbarrow analogy, about the guy going over a wheelbarrow and coming back, and then looking at somebody, you know, his friend or his wife or whatever, and saying, do you think I can go over the wheelbarrow, or go over the tightrope in the wheelbarrow over the Grand Canyon? And then, you know, the person looking at him and saying, well, yeah, because you just did, like, you believe that I did that. There's this whole conversation going on the street out here. This grandma's walking with her two little grandsons, and he's holding up this dinosaur, these people that are walking by. It's so sweet. Anyway, so, you know, but like that conversation of, do you think that I can make it over this wheelbarrow? Well, yeah. Or do you believe I can? Well, yeah, I believe you can, because I just saw you do it. Do you have faith that I can? And the difference between belief and faith is putting yourself in the wheelbarrow and going over the Grand Canyon. Well, you know, the night that Tucker passed away, and I had that conversation in a meeting that I was at, was like, I stood out here, you know, and it was, you know, taking Boo Radley out and stuff, and I was looking up at the sky. I don't know why. I know God is not in the sky, but I always look up at the sky and the stars and think of God. And I was like, I haven't put myself in the wheelbarrow, God, for quite some time. If I'm going to be a person of faith, I have to put myself in the wheelbarrow. I have to trust, you know, that maybe your timing is not my timing. Maybe it's blessings in disguise. Maybe things are not happening the way that I want them to, or on my timing, you know? And Or maybe things aren't, I don't understand. You know, like things have happened to me in my life that I just do not understand. The accident is a great example of that. Makes no sense to me to this day. You know, my doctors can provide no medical answers except for that I had a breakthrough medical emergency, you know, but the complications and the consequences that came after that and the people that were affected by that, you know, and that a man died as a result of that, you know, and like his family was greatly affected by that, all of it, everything after that makes no sense to me, right? I think there are a lot of things in this world that God's not in that don't make a lot of sense. I think maybe God for me, and I'm not saying that about that situation, but I'm saying for me, God isn't, how do I make sense of it afterwards? And that's just my way of dealing with it, you know? I don't know what to do with that, and I get very confused about those things, right? And so for me, it's all about like constantly wanting to control God's story of my life. When what I realize is, I have a way to translate that and respond to it, but I don't have a way to control it. Like, I can't control those things, you know? I mean, if all of a sudden it starts to rain and I'm sitting out on my patio and I wanted to read out here and drink a cup of coffee, like, I can't control the fact that it's raining. I can go inside, I can put a coat on, I can get an umbrella, but I can't stop the rain, right? Like, I don't have that kind of control. I think for much of my life, I lived under the condition that I thought I could stop the rain. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but I thought that I could. Like, I didn't literally think, like, oh, I can stop the rain. But I think, like, the way that I went through my life was that I thought I had a lot more control than I did, and I realized one day that I just didn't at all, you know? And that's happened to me through many things that have happened in my life, not just the accident, but my mother passing away, my aunt and uncle getting sick, friends of mine that have died, and things like that. And yes, you know, I realize that, you know, there are some things in life that we can't control. And so it's my response to it. I think, like, one of the things that's been very valuable to me, too, is, let's say I'm very upset with somebody, right? Or I want to have a conversation with somebody, and I'll call my sponsor, and she'll say to me, pray on it and sleep on it, which means think about it deeply, pray to God, put it in God's hands, and then set it aside. Well, like I said, you don't have to be a religious person to do that. You can think deeply about it, put it aside, and go to sleep. Usually when I wake up the next morning, my first thought is, okay, that is a horrible idea. That is not a conversation I need to have, or no, I need to have that conversation. Like, the sleeping on it at night has really made me think deeper about it. And I feel like I just have this innate feeling when I wake up the next morning of, like, I know how to move into that direction. That crazy little thing about sleeping on it or pausing on it, like hitting the pause button, has been so pivotal in my life, of like hitting this huge pause button, just being like, okay, I need a timeout. Like, I need to hit pause on this and revisit this later, right? I think, like, for many years of my life, so many years, I lived in such a reactionary state that if somebody said something, I wanted to say something back that moment. If something did something, I wanted to do something back or say something back about it that moment. That I constantly felt like I had to be reactionary, you know? I think social media, to some degree, has also forced that. You know, we see a picture, you have to hit a like, leave a comment, you know? If somebody puts out an opinion that you don't like, you have to respond to it immediately, you know? Even like when I started doing YouTube, it's like if something happened online in the drama world, it was like we would all rush to our cameras to record it right away. I don't do that anymore. Somebody will put something out and 2 or 3 days later I might respond to it, you know? And that's not just because of how I view YouTube anymore. That's because of how I view my life. I do not need to rush and respond to things anymore. Since I have slowed down my life and gotten less reactionary. You know, reactionary is like when somebody hits you, you hit them back, right? It's like you react. Responsive is where you sit there and you think about it. I remember I had this, I've shared this story before, but I had this supervisor way back in the day, and she was actually like the director of nursing. And there was a lot of people that were like, it was when I was working in treatment, they were like arguing over who had the right to this group room at night, right? And everybody's opinion got into it and whatever. And I remember sitting with her, and she was like, she had asked a lot of different people about their opinions. She hadn't made up a decision yet on whose group room it was. I think that was what the situation was. Maybe I'm forgetting it now. I mean, it's been 16 years since I've been there, which is crazy. And, you know, and so, and this was years before that, so it's probably been 20 years since this happened. But I was like, I remember sitting there talking to her, and I said something to her about, like, I don't know why you haven't made a decision yet. This was during Peter's reactionary stage, you know, and long after that as well. And she said, you know, Peter, she goes, I am somebody that, like, I take in a lot of information from different people, and then I think on it, and then I make a choice and I respond, right? Like, I don't just immediately react to it and make a decision because everybody wants me to. And I remember that. Well, I didn't learn that. I mean, I heard it, but I didn't, you know how when you hear something, but you don't learn it till years later when you go through a lot of stuff? I didn't learn it till years later, you know? And, you know, Paige Christie, who I'm great with today, and I consider her a friend, she and I had this live stream that did not go well, you know, and it was just an ugly live stream, and I am not proud of how I behaved. And she's a fellow YouTuber, if you don't know who she is. But anyway, I'm not proud to this day of that. And she and I have talked about it, and I've apologized numerous times, and she's accepted it, and we've had great conversations since then. But that was such a pivotal moment for me in my life off of camera, because I was like, I do not want to be this person. And I definitely don't want to be that person and then have all these people view it, and that's who I am. And I don't want to be that reactionary, you know? And that was the moment that, like, I started, like, really taking a look at that. Like, you know, if you don't want people to view you that way, then don't be that way. Then change that. Then work on that part of yourself, you know? I rarely ever mention that in videos, but, like, that was a pivotal changing point for me in my life. Not just on YouTube, but in my life. Because I was like, if this is how you don't want to be seen, and this is how you were seen, because this is who you were in that moment, then you need to change who you are in the moment. It's not just about how you're seen or how people are perceiving you. You need to change who you are, and you need to work on yourself. And, you know, it's interesting because she and I talked, I don't know, a couple months ago, and we were talking about it, and she said, I feel like we've, both of us, like, matured and grown up a lot, you know? And I do feel that way about both of us. About myself, I feel like I'm not 100% there yet. I'm maybe 60 or 70%, which is 60 or 70% better than I was when that happened. You know, but there were a lot of situations that happened at that time. I was being reactionary in my marriage, you know? Alex would say something like, I want pizza tonight. Pizza? Why not China? You know, it was like everything. And I had to take a look at that, and I had to take a look at what was the core issues underneath that, and why was I so unhappy at that period of my life, and work on that. That's why today, for me, it's more about inner peace and serenity and being happy on a daily basis and getting excited when my husband drives up, you know, and, like, and turning off the camera, you know, like, when he comes inside, he, like, rests for, like, an hour or two, and I'll vlog out here, and then we spend the rest of the night together, you know? Back in the day, I was doing live streams and whatever. My marriage and my interaction with my husband and my dog is more important to me today than that, you know? And I have to be considerate of that. And I also have to be considerate of asking myself in any situation, if I'm saying something that I think is important, am I reacting to it or am I responding to it? You know, and really asking myself that question. And also realizing that whether I like it or not, in my belief system, the world happens and my life happens on God's time and God's plan, not mine. How I react to it or respond to it is my choice. But I don't have any control over that. You know, I've said this in a couple videos. Now, I can't stop the rain. I can't. I can put up an umbrella, I can go inside, I can build a shelter, I can put on a raincoat. I can't stop the rain. I don't have that kind of power. But for a long time, I thought that I had that kind of control in my world. And I just don't, you know? And the second that I really understood that and got it and realized that I can't control what he does or she says or he says or what they do, whatever, and I realized that I can only choose how I respond to that, my life changed profoundly. Anyway, that was a great meditation. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.